Hey everybody, this is Ernie with Peter Glenn. In studio today is Josh from Burton Snowboards, and we are going to run you through what we believe are the ultimate board, boot, and binding setups for riding all mountain, park, and POW. So, let's get to it. So you've been riding the terrain park for a while, or you're just getting into it? Well, Josh is here to tell you how to create the ultimate setup for riding park.
Yeah, so I guess let's start with the board, Ernie. So when we're talking about park riding, we're of course talking about hitting jumps and rails and even riding half pipe to an extent. So there's definitely some specific things you would want in a park board when hitting those features. The first thing would be just absolute symmetry from tip to tail. So you definitely want a twin shaped snowboard. So something that's going to ride backwards and forwards exactly the same. You're also going to have to get a little bit more particular about the width of the deck. So if your feet, or if your toes are hanging a little bit too far over the edge of the board, you might catch and drag your toes as you're approaching a jump takeoff, which would not be good. Flex also can be pretty important here too. If you get something that's too stiff, you're going to have a really hard time manipulating it under your feet and pressing your board into boxes and rails. Likewise, if you get something too soft when you're coming down off jump landings, you might wash out and slip out. So finding a really good balance of both width and stiffness is crucial. The other thing is the bend of the board. So this totally comes down to personal preference, but for my experience with riding terrain park, I always prefer to have a traditional camber bend snowboard. This gives you a lot of pop and control out of the center of the deck, which is definitely something you want when you're ollie-ing and hitting features in the park. This board we have here, this is kind of our pick for the ultimate park board. This is the Burton Freethinker for winter 21-22. This board checks all those boxes. It is a high-end twin freestyle board from Burton. Some cool backstory with this: Danny Davis, one of our pro riders, he's given the opportunity every year to kind of chase down really cool graphic collaborations with different artists around the world. And for this year, he went back to Scott Lenhart, who has done dozens and dozens of pro model artwork for Burton over the years, and they almost kind of become collector's items in a way. So again, you have a super high-end, perfect twin-shaped park deck, really cool graphic story, and it definitely checks all those boxes of things that you would want.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the bindings also.
Yeah, so bindings with park riding, there's actually a lot of movement out of the bottom portion of your foot. So there's a lot of twisting going on when you're getting ready to take off of a jump. So you don't really want the stiffest binding out there. We chose the Cartel X for this setup because it is kind of a good medium stiff binding. It's not so soft where you could potentially roll your ankle getting too twisty, but it's not so stiff that it's going to dig into the back of your calf and prevent you from maneuvering your foot. There's a couple cool things going on here. Let me flip this around. So if you look at the back of this binding, we have these two pivot points down low. So this allows that real freedom of your ankle down low. So if you've ever seen someone ollie or jump on a skateboard, they'll crack the tail and roll their front foot forward. This pivot cup down low allows you to do the exact same thing. So tons of movement and freedom of your foot. The other great features of this binding, we'll flip it back, is this hammock down in the high back. If you could see that here. This gives a lot of grip to the back of your boot, keeping you connected to that high back. So the better connection you have to your high back, the more responsive you are going to be from toe to heel when setting up for those jumps and rails in the park.
Now we're also talking about the EST setup for this.
Yes, we are. So EST, highly recommended if you're on a Burton board, or any board with the channel for that matter. So this allows you to mount your bindings outside of your foot. So instead of standing on top of a solid plastic disc like a traditional 4-hole pattern, you just have a thin pad of foam underneath you, which gives you great board feel underneath your feet. So if you're setting up on rails and balancing, trying to lock in and get to the end of a feature, you can really feel the rail underneath you, which is perfect for park riding. Great board feel with the EST system.
Yeah, so we want to match up essentially our boots with our bindings to some degree, and we've gone here with the Photon.
Yeah, this is honestly a great choice for any type of riding, but for park riding, I like this boot a lot. It's medium stiff. It's not so stiff where you're not going to get that motion we talked about that you kind of need rolling and twisting low in your boot. The Photon does have a really cool lacing system. So we have two BOA dials here. the side dial, you click this in and crank, and it allows you to control how tight the lower portion of your boot is. And then if you click the top dial, it'll lock in the top of the tongue and this unique side lacing guide. So this actually really cranks your ankle back down into the boot so you don't get any heel lift. So medium stiff still allows you to rotate and twist and get that movement out of the boot that you need, but still really holds your heel down so you maintain that control of your board. So overall, this would be a fantastic park boot. Yeah, Ernie, so I guess just to recap, when we're talking again about boards, you just want to look for symmetry. You want something that's perfectly symmetrical tip to tail, a twin-shaped snowboard that's going to ride the same forward and backward in the park. For bindings, like we said, you don't want something that's terribly stiff. There's going to be a lot of movement out of the lower section of your foot, so a good soft to medium stiff binding. EST is always preferred if you can to get that really good board feel underfoot. And then for boots, find something that's comfortable for you, of course. You want to make sure that you can ride the entire day and not be in pain. But I always prefer like a soft to medium stiff boot, something that's really going to hold your heel down, like this Photon Boa here.
Yeah. Thanks again, Josh, and thank you for watching. You can check out the rest of the Burton 2122 line on peterglenn.com or in any one of our stores.